by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting or participate in the public hearing may do so in the following manner. Go on to the web at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. And without casting a shadow on what's happening, this seems to be the smoothest start to our Zoom planning board meetings that we've had. It's only 10 minutes past 7, and that time was used administratively to hopefully have the meeting go smoothly. So the first item on the agenda is a master plan committee update. Would that be you, Mrs. Luttrell?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The next master plan committee meeting is this Wednesday, the 21st, at which time we will finalize the goals and recommendations, and that will enable us to begin writing the update, hopefully. Still accepting all comments. Everyone's welcome. And that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing, continued public hearing, 7 Chestnut Hill Road, major site plan approval. This public hearing is continued from July 13th, August 10th, September 14th, and September 28th. I'll call on the town planner to give us an update and then open it up to the proponents.
All right.
Rena.
Hi, everybody. Quick update from the last meeting. The trustees of reservations have been waiting to and corresponding with Conservation Commission to iron out their issues with the parking at the trailhead and the conservation restriction requirements for that. The Conservation Commission requested a legal opinion from Town Council regarding the trailhead parking. The Conservation Commission is going to be meeting this week, Thursday, October 22nd, to discuss those findings. And I believe they were also getting an opinion from another third party who understands conservation restrictions as well, to opine on the trailhead parking. In the interim, what was presented at Conservation was a concept plan expanding the CSA parking area, the middle parking area closer to the barn, adding spaces there and reducing the number of spaces that would be needed up near the trailhead parking. But because there's still some parking needed up there, that's one of the issues. And also the overflow parking that was along the stone wall, that is also has been determined that that may, if that is happening, it would be within the farmstead envelope as opposed to along the stone wall, because there were concerns about it impacting the scenic view from CPC members. So with that, I'd just like to say that again, the planning board, the conservation is meeting on Thursday to further discuss this. And on the panel here is Bob Murray and DA Hayden with the trustees, and they probably would like to briefly add something to what I've explained.
Hi, everybody. It's DA.
Hi, DA. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Don.
Welcome
Hi,
back.
everyone.
Welcome
Thank
back.
you. Thank you. This is technically very good tonight. We are meeting with Conservation on Thursday night, And out of deference to our relationship with conservation, what we'd like to do is just ask you all for an extension this evening and then have our discussion with conservation about the concepts that we're going to be presenting to them, and then come back to you after that meeting. Bob, is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, if we're fortunate enough to get approval from conservation, we'll get plans to Karina right away so that they can be shared for peer review. And hopefully we can take this up on November 2nd.
Okay, so your signed request for an extension of the approval period and a continuation of the public hearing has been received and distributed to the board members. It requests an extension of the approval period to November 6th, close of business, and a continuation of the public hearing to November 2nd at 7 p.m. Has the board any questions or comments regarding that? Seeing none,
Can I
Yes,
just
go
add
ahead,
one
Corinne.
thing, Dawn? I'm sorry, I just failed to mention that I did receive some questions and comments from resident Bonnie Faniff that will be distributed and referenced at the next meeting.
Okay, so we can discuss that at the next meeting.
Yeah, I just wanted Bonnie to know that we did get that email with questions.
And you'll
That's
share that with us as well, Karina?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
That's assuming we get a motion to continue and it passes.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Stein,
I'd like to make a motion that the public hearing for 7 Chestnut Hill Road major site plan approval be extended to November 2nd at 7:05 p.m. and that the approval period for same matter be extended to November the 6th.
Can you make that 7:05?
Well, I was extending the approval.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
The first thing is the motion is at 7:05 p.m. on November the 2nd. Do we have a second?
Second.
motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, Morris, yes?
Stein, yes?
Strong, yes?
Houlihan, yes.
Okay, we'll see you on the 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
You too, thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is a public hearing. 60 Richards Road, Mooney baseball field lighting, major site plan approval. We'll ask the town planner to read the public hearing notice.
All right. Public hearing notice for major site plan approval, George Mooney Park, Mooney Baseball Field Athletic Lighting, 60 Richards Road, Assessors Map 7, Parcel 23. Per Section 17410 of the Southborough Zoning Code, Planning Board of the Town of Southborough shall hold a public hearing on Monday, October 19th, 2020 at 7:10 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting to consider the application of the Town of Southborough regarding the property located at 60 Richards Road for major site plan approval. This hearing concerns a proposal to install athletic field lighting, including 4 light poles, controls, and wiring for the Mooney baseball field. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing limitations on in-person gatherings, there will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons wishing to participate in this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to https://www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. A copy of the plans and applications may be viewed on the Planning Board's webpage, https://www.southboroughtown.com/planning-board. Donald C. Morris, Chair, Planning Board.
Thank you. So this application and public hearing has been on a very long path to get to tonight. The information that we've received has been reviewed initially by our consultant, Fuss and O'Neill, and their letter with comments has been received. It has 50 comments. That's a very high number of comments for any submittal for site plan. So we're starting this process because we can at this point. We have enough information to get started, but it must be known that 50 comments is a very high number, and it may take some time to get us through and get resolution to those comments. So what's the next step, Karina? We turn it over to Tim?
Well, I can give you a brief update, just how we got to this point, just to ensure.
Also, yes, and also the emails, either the volume of emails or specific emails, for example, from any current or past town officials.
Yes. Okay. So on September 24th, we received submission number 1 from Travers Landscape Architects with plans dated September 3rd, 2020. On September 30th, they were filed. A major site plan approval application was filed with the town clerk. Same day, legal ads went to the newspaper, which were posted and published in the paper on October 5th and October 12th. The following date, October 1st, and the notices were sent to the towns and agencies. The abutter notifications were sent out by the Recreation Department. The application was distributed to Fuss and O'Neill for review, planning board members and town departments for their review, including the ADA committee. As of, I believe, about a year ago, the Board of Selectmen cited that all municipal facility projects would be reviewed by the ADA committee as well. We received the green cards back last Thursday from the abutter notices, as well as the white mailing receipts. We received comments from Bonnie Faniff on October 16th. I had correspondence with the Massachusetts Office of Disability and the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board regarding the projects on the 15th. On October 14th, I submitted a legal opinion request on the status of the variances from the ZBA from back in 2017 to make sure that they were in order. And we received legal opinion back this afternoon, which was expedited by town council in order to help things move forward. I believe, it's my understanding, the opinion was that the variances were considered not lapsed based on the continued process of working with planning and going through site plan, approaching site plan review. And I received many letters today, or emails, I should say, from various abutters and residents expressing their opinion on the projects. I haven't had a chance to read them all. I was able to forward some of them. Many of them were in support. And that brings us to this evening. October 19th is the first public hearing for this. So, sorry, not as brief as I thought, but I thought that should all get in there. Is there anything I missed on?
You said many emails. Was it more than 10?
Yes.
20?
Yes.
30?
Yes.
That's many.
Last I looked before the meeting, there was 37 from since I left work, I think.
Yeah, it seems like a very well coordinated effort. Since I read some of them, and the phrases and reasons tend to use the same words. So we'll acknowledge that and move on. So what's next, Tim?
Yeah, so I think if you're going to speak and present, just make sure that you say who you are and who you're with. We know who you are, but for recording purposes, for minutes, and also for the public, that would be helpful.
Of course. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? We all good?
Hi, Tim. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Good to see you all. For those watching at home and for those here who don't know me, my name is Tim Davis. I'm the Recreation Director for the town of Southborough. I'm joined here tonight by my colleagues Arthur Eddy from Traverse Landscape Architects. Art has been the lead on this project since I came into office here summer 2019 and has been working diligently on this project, as Karina and Sarah know. Next is Vincent Delorio from Vincent Delorio Consulting Engineers, excuse me. He was our electrical engineer on this project. And last, Mike Berry, who is our representative for Musco Lighting, working with us. Also in attendance, I just want to note that jointly the Recreation Commission is meeting. So Jen Hansen, Kristen LaVault, Dave Nixon, Don Dumont, and Seth Crandall should be in that audience as well with a joint meeting. I'm just going to do a little brief introduction, and then I will hand it over either to Art or leave it up to you, Don, and the board as how you want to tackle this.
Thank you. I'm just saying, is there a way we could put the one of the appropriate project plans up, if that's okay with you, so that when we're speaking of this, the public can get an idea of what a visual idea of what the project looks like.
Yep, Art, I believe you have the ability to share your screen. Is that correct?
Yep. Yes.
Excellent.
Can you see that?
Perfect. So I guess a quick little intro, and then we can dive into it because I know we have a lot to talk about and to be brief. So these two projects that we have in front of you per the agenda, the 60 Richardson Road at Mooney Baseball Field Lighting Complex, and 53 Parkerville Road, which is the Neri tennis courts, Patricia Richardson tennis courts, were both approved for funding as a result of town meeting in 2017. And then, as you know, and many in town know, this project has kind of changed hands multiple times and has come before the planning board and department on several occasions. As we join you today, this iteration of this plan is really, if I can say, I think months of dedication from Mr. Eddy and his team, and the result of multiple meetings and communications with Karina, Sarah, and the entire planning department. I just want to say that I understand to many on this board, as well as the audience, that this has been somewhat of a frustrating process due to its length of time, but I am confident where we are right now and our team's ability to get this to the finish line so that the residents and the families in town can utilize these facilities as they hoped and as they intended. Don, as you mentioned, and I just do want to point out that we also received the report from Fuss and O'Neill, as it was lengthy. We received it Friday afternoon at close of business, so us ourselves have not had the time to fully go through, make adjustments physically on the plans to the fullest extent, but we have reviewed them. Art and I have talked about them briefly, and we are here tonight ready to address any specifics of that review to the best of our ability. If you would like to speak to anything specific that you all saw. And then last, our goal and our takeaway from this meeting is really to answer any and all questions that you may have to the best of our ability, have a clear understanding and clear path of guidance from you all on where we need to go next so we can get this project done. So with that, I will turn it over to Art if he wants to start running through the plans, and thank you for the attention and the support as we got here.
I'd just like to interject quickly. I just want to make sure it's clear that we did receive the Fuss and O'Neill review comments on Thursday late afternoon, so they were distributed Friday
Correct.
On the 16th. So all the planning board members may also have not had a chance to fully review those in such short notice, because usually we need like 7 days, but
Of course.
they tried to get it to us as soon as possible so that at least it could start churning. Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to go ahead?
Please.
Mr. Chairman, planning board members of the public, thanks for having us tonight. I will walk quickly through the plans at Mooney Baseball Field, the youth baseball field. The project's located at 6 Richards Road, map 7, lot 23 on the zoning map. As you can see here, there are 2 baseball fields. on the site, and then 2 softball or little league fields on the site. The field that we're talking about is directly in the center. And what the proposed conditions there is to add athletic field lighting to that field. That would be 4 light pole locations, 1, 2 on first base, 1 in the outfield, 1 on third base, and 1 in the outfield. So you have 4 poles surrounding. The foot candles on the field are 50-foot candles for the infield, 30-foot candles for the outfield. Power is proposed to come from Parkerville Road, across Parkerville Road from an existing pole to a new pole, which will head to a cabinet with lighting controls for the lights. We have reviewed existing conditions on site. We're proposing obviously trenching from that cabinet to the 4 poles. And one thing before I jump to the next plan and kind of get a better close-up, I just wanted to point out that H in the center of the field is the medvac landing area. We did have that area flown, and we do have a letter included in our package of approval from them regarding being able to still use that as a medvac area. As we look closer at the site, obviously anywhere that we're proposing drilling for caissons for the foundations for the light poles, we have erosion control and silt sock around those areas. We also are not disturbing any trees in the area, and we're not within any wetlands area. We are asking for a waiver on the stormwater report. Basically, we're not within any wetland area. We don't meet any of the regulations required. We're only disturbing 4,249 feet, so we're under the 40,000 square foot requirement. We're not within any jurisdictional wetlands, and we're minimizing the amount of impact on the site.
So Art, I just want to point out that the waiver you're requesting, when you say stormwater management report, are you talking the drainage calcs you're asking a waiver from, or are you saying you don't need, you're confirming you don't need a lower impact development special permit?
We don't need the lower impact special development permit. And it also doesn't meet the requirements for the drainage calculations because we're not disturbing, we don't have any earthwork or grading within the site. We're keeping the grade as is. So we're not impacting any grading or drainage on the site.
So you're not referring to a stormwater management plan from conservation?
That's correct. We included a letter from Conservation Commission acknowledging that it doesn't meet the requirements, and that's in the report that we provided.
Okay, and I had requested confirmation of the area of disturbance, the square footage, in order to determine if a lid was required or not, and you're under that threshold.
That's correct. That was the 4,249 square foot number that I had mentioned before.
All right, thank you. You can go ahead. I just wanted to make sure that was clear because sometimes the terminology is not the same.
Sure. With that, I would open it up to questions. I do have Mike Barriers with me from Musco Lighting. So Mike can address lighting controls, light fixtures, and light levels. I also have Vin Delorio who can address electrical engineering questions as he is our electrical engineer for the project.
So either before or during this next step, let's talk about the height and the variance that was granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals relative to the height of the fixtures, and then would want you to go to the plan that shows how the fixtures, what the fixtures look like, what the lights look like, what the foundations look like, so on. But Karina, would you be the right one to discuss or to report the history of the variance?
Sure. Let me just pull it up here. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Just bear
Tim,
with
that
me.
predates you, right? The variance?
Correct, yes.
Now, we put in there were questions as to whether or not the ZBA's action had lapsed due to the time from when it was granted until now. And we received today a legal opinion response from town council relative to the status of the special permit. And his letter indicates that it has not lapsed, that it's still valid. The details of which are available, but I think in general, it's basically that when a permit is granted by one authority and then the process moves on to the next authority, which in this case went from the ZBA to the planning board, that the action of the first permit granting authority can't lapse while there's progress being made in obtaining the next level of a permit, which in this case is the site plan approval. So basically he said it has not lapsed, and we're glad that he was able to give us a quick response on that, and we're able to get a green light and proceed with the site plan hearing. Go ahead, Karina.
Okay. Do you need me to say any more detail about the legal opinion, or that's sufficient?
Let's hope that's sufficient. People can ask if they want more detail, but it's basic. It was a yes or no bottom line, which was, has the special permit lapsed, or has the variance lapsed, or hasn't it? And according to town council, it has not. It's still in effect.
Correct. Correct. And we did get that this afternoon, so I believe if it's applicable, we can make that available to you, Tim, if I didn't send it already. Okay, so in March 15th, 2017, there was a decision, notice of decision on a variance request. Zoning board had a meeting on March 1st, 2017, at which they granted variance to install 2 lights at a height of 60 feet and 2 lights at a height of 70 feet, along with 12 conditions. To what extent would you like me to read the variance decision, or just the conditions, or?
No, I think that that's all we needed to know. Again, we're not going to resolve this tonight by any means with 50 comments from Fuss and O'Neill, but the public should be aware that the height of the fixtures is 60 feet and 70 feet, and that is what those heights were okayed by the ZBA. So that when we get into the details here tonight and people see the height of those fixtures, they'll understand why we're able to proceed with those on the plan.
And also, in addition, a copy of the variances are included in the application reports that were provided by the Recreation Department and Traverse Landscape Architects. They're posted on the planning board website with the application. Within the, there's a set of plans, and there's also a book of different documents that apply to the application that was provided. So the variance is in that as well, the decision of the variances. So after that, variances usually lapse, lapse in 1 year per code, unless you take action. There were some electrical permits that were taken out at the time. So I had thought that was all set. And then in the interim, the prior recreation director, Doreen Ferguson, had started to prepare applications. And at the time, there weren't full site plans available or prepared. So we worked through that. And then eventually Tim came on board in 2019, was it? And we started working with Tim, and Tim was did a good job in setting up meetings with us to go through the plans and what was needed. And finally, a application was submitted with plans that had enough information that we could start moving forward with the major site plan application. It addressed many of the things that we were looking for. So Fusanonia was able to provide this new review. And that brings us to today. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who's next? Art?
Yeah, you had asked specifically about seeing light pole foundations and light pole heights. So I wanted to show at least the elevations of what those light foundation poles are and what those light poles look like. You can see the variance between what we're calling A3 and A4, which is the 60-foot light, and then B3 and B4, which is the 70-foot light pole. Those light poles produced by Musco. Again, Mike Berry, if you do have questions directly regarding those light poles, is on the line. But those light poles come on a pre-manufactured foundation, which you can see on the far left. That pre-floor manufactured foundation is drilled into the ground, and then the poles are set on top of those pre-manufactured foundations. So it's not a poured foundation, it's poured in a caisson that's placed in the ground, pre-manufactured. So the whole system comes as a complete system. The system is an LED system, is one of the things that since the last time this has gone through, the light fixtures have been upgraded to LED fixtures. Obviously a better energy rating and a better light fixture overall. And you can see those on this sheet. Any questions on that?
Are those fixtures tiltable?
Those fixtures are preset prior to arrival. So part of the plan they'll fix those lights and adjust those lights before they're set up. If they ever needed to be reset, they would have to obviously bring out something to get up to that height, a lift of some sort. But typically, once those lights are set, they're set before they're set in the ground. And Mike, I don't know if you want to address that or if you want to add to that.
Sure. They are all pre-aimed in the factory based on the pole location in relation to home plate. And that is how we're able to calculate the light levels on the field, as well as calculate the spill off the field. If they were all aimed in the field during installation, those would all have potential variables depending on how was it aiming them. So in the factory, we can aim them based on engineer drawings so that they're more precise, aimed within 1/100th of a degree from the factory. I know one of the questions on the Fuss O'Neill write-up was about the aiming. We will provide aiming degrees for each one of the fixtures as part of our resubmit. But with 4 poles in a large area like an athletic field, you can't have a 90-degree cutoff straight down fixture because you wouldn't have any light out at center field locating poles that far away from it.
Do they have cutoff features for the back of the fixture?
Not For the back, no, but I mean, everything is aimed frontward throwing, so there isn't any light that is coming, that is aimed off the back other than any ambient light from the light source itself. But you're not going to see any of the diode of the light source from the back of the pole.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. I was just talking about the fixture, Art. I don't know if you got anything in the next slide or anything else that we wanted to cover in terms of that.
I think, I mean, again, part of the package was a stamped foundation plan that was provided for the light pole base. Again, a pre-manufactured light pole base that's drilled and set. And then I don't know if you wanted to jump into light levels a little bit to discuss light levels on the field.
So we received the notice on Friday, the response, and I've had engineering kind of rerun and recalculate what we can do to minimize the spill further and still kind of meet that light level and uniformity on the field. And we're able to reduce a little bit further. The next step, if we were to go that far, would be potentially change out some of the wattage of some of the fixtures, maybe add a few and reduce the wattage to try and help reduce the spill even more. But we hadn't changed the fixture counts, just looked at re-aiming the existing lighting design, and we're down to 0.09, so under 1/10 of a foot candle at the other end of this edge of the street.
Yes.
Can you point where that is, Mike, on the screen?
Yeah, I don't know if that's Art's mouse, but it's, yeah, down a little bit to the right of that is kind of where that, yeah, right around there is where that, yep, highest point is. And again, that horizontal, that is 0.09 currently on the latest revision, where I think it was 0.12 before.
And is this the horizontal foot candles?
Yep. Horizontal, which is measuring the spill. I mean, the max vertical that was provided is more or less measuring, I guess the methodology previously was to measure glare, but it's not a really good representation. But max vertical is taking a light meter and aiming it back towards the light fixtures or the closest light source. So that's why that's always a little bit higher, but horizontal is replicating what you're doing on the field in terms of the foot candles on the field and off the field. So it's measuring the true spill light.
Is this at the ground or is this 3 feet up?
That's at 0. The latest, this one is at 0. The newer ones are at 0 because that's the requirement for the town.
Can I ask just a quick question?
Sure.
Don, is that
Oh, yeah.
just clarifying, so I was just a little confused. So first of all, I just want to say thanks for getting into the IES specification. So that's awesome. So thank you. Just a curious question on your slides. I didn't really understand the difference between a maintained horizontal foot candle versus just a horizontal foot candle. What maintained preface?
Maintained horizontal is the same as horizontal. I don't know as though it differentiates the two. Back in the previous lighting technology, there was initial and maintained, but horizontal is horizontal.
Okay, because it comes out different. Like the summary, the grid summary has different values. So that's why I was curious.
One of them might be, say, max vertical. And one says horizontal.
I think if you pan back a little bit, we can see the title block top right corner. And you can see it says under illumination summary, maintained horizontal foot candles.
Yeah, that is what it's going to be. With LED lights, it's the same value when you turn it on as it is 100 hours from now. older technology would have an initial brighter light level at the beginning and then depreciate over time. But with LED, that is the value that you would have from the beginning to the end.
Now, what's more important, vertical foot candles or horizontal?
Horizontal is more representation of spill. Vertical, it's how we used to try and identify glare. And nowadays we're using candela, which is really the true measurement of glare. So providing the max vertical is not real relevant, but that's what you're doing, is aiming that light meter and looking for the brightest possible point and getting your calculation. So it's always going to be brighter than your horizontal.
And it looked like your challenge was with the softball field versus the baseball field with the trespass. At least when I reviewed that on the vertical and horizontal. So in your recalculations, did you have an impact on the softball lighting as well as the baseball, since you're doing it for dual purpose?
Oh, no, I mean, whether it's softball or baseball, I think we've only targeted lighting this one field at Mooney in terms of our reports. Whether they play baseball or softball, the light levels and the targeted uniformities are the same. Size of the field is the same.
Marnie, are you referring to the baseball diamond to the left?
No, so
The
they
spillover?
work called the softball spill, and it has a significant their variance on the horizontal and vertical is a little bit more than on the baseball cutoff line into the neighboring across the street for trespass.
I'm trying to see what.
So there's kind of like a white, it's a white line drawn. Your things aren't labeled. It's just called the softball spill. Well, that's at the 30-foot.
Oh, there's like a ISO
Yeah.
foot candle line yeah, right there, softball spill. So what does that mean?
Right. So just trying to understand that.
That's 150-foot radius. And so it's just calculating values for that. We were targeting the spill on the abutting property line on that street versus the footprint on the athletic grounds. So I mean, I can look at it, but the brightest point on the scans in terms of at the 150 radius is that one you see in green there is going to be that's the one that we've worked on reducing.
When you say 150-foot radius, are you talking as if that white line was a circle, so to speak?
It's an equidistant. It's 150 feet from the edge of that playing surface. So that green outline of the field is your playing surface. 150 feet. You can see it kind of follows that same.
Okay, it's 150 feet from the field.
Yep.
From the playing field.
Yep.
And you're saying the green number on the bottom of the page at the abutting property across the street, that was the critical point.
That's the area that we've been targeting, yes. Certainly we would provide updated scans with the full 150 radius, and I would imagine they would all depreciate from there. But that being I guess the edge of the property was where we were targeting, not so much the softball fields.
And these are the plans that were submitted, right? These aren't any revisions yet.
Right.
So were the vertical foot candles higher foot candle numbers at the abutting property?
Yep, they would be. Not much, but they are. And again, that's because you're aiming the light meter at the fixtures, trying to find the brightest point.
Have you completed your presentation?
Yes.
So I'm going to open it up to questions, and comments from anyone, but several minutes ago, I heard Mike from Musco say, and I wrote it down, you're not going to see the light source from the back of the pole. That seems to conflict with what we've just been talking about. And if it doesn't, then can you explain why we have so much light on the street and across the street, and yet you can't see the light source from the back of the pole?
Well,
Or
you,
did you want to change that statement that you made?
no, I was talking about the light source. You're not going to be looking into the fixture or seeing any of the diodes from behind the pole. Everything is aimed forward throwing. But you are going to have a field that is lit to 50 foot candles in the infield, 30 on the outfield. And so you are lighting it from the perimeter, and there is going to be a little bit of light that trespasses beyond the playing surface. Just like you turn a light on in a room, some of the light leads out into the hallway. You can't cut it off right at the doorway. We do the best we can in the industry in terms of cutting off the light and maintaining and targeting just the field. But that being said, seeing a lot of light at 0.12 foot candles, you can't even read the meter at 0.12 foot candles to read 0.12. So I wouldn't say it's a lot of light. And that is what I meant by the statement of you're not going to see the light source. You're not going to be looking into the fixture from that location. Everything is forward throwing.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. Now, at the Choate field lights at the Woodward School, do you know the difference between these LEDs and the ones at Choate Field?
Yeah. That's a metal halide fixture, 1500 watt single bulb, different animal. The spill and glare control on that was the best there was on the market at the time. With LED, you have individual diodes making up that 1200, 900, 1500 watt fixture. And each one of those diodes is aimable within the fixture. So the spill and glare control with LED is twice as good as it is with the metal halide. So yes, Choate is a different animal. That I know we've heard some feedback from that, but from what was up there previously with a floodlight with no glare control, no visors, it should be a lot better than what was previously there. But this, again, will be an even greater improvement to that.
That's good to know, because the people are asking, they're trying to compare what's being proposed here with what they see elsewhere. And if they look at Choate, then I guess it's safe to say that you can't compare them, or it's not a direct comparison.
Correct. Same company, but completely different animal.
So can you point to a field in a nearby town where the proposed lights, these 60 and 70 footers with LED, are functioning now?
I certainly can share a list of references with the group and send that through the channels. Off the top of my head, yeah, you'd want a baseball field just like we're doing here for representation.
Yeah, or playing fields. I used to drive down Route 30 past Weston High School quite a bit, and I noticed recently that without even like looking over onto the playing fields, you could just tell there was a difference in what was from before. And so I started to look at those, and you could tell it was a significant difference.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the height of those fixtures are, and you know, they have the football field and other fields nearby, so it's, I think, quite a few more light fixtures, but
Yeah.
Is that similar?
Yep, Weston is our stuff. We've had those LED fixtures up for a few years now. I think those poles are 80 footers, I believe, because we have further setbacks beyond the track. They might even be 90s. But yeah, that is our LED fixture. It's changed a little bit since then. The look of it's similar, just every iteration we get a little bit better and a little bit more advanced with how we can control it. But Weston is one. Wayland High School just put in lights on their tennis courts and their stadium. Westboro High School is must go with the LED lights there. But I can look and see what I have for similar type of baseball field so people can get a representation. If they go to a high school stadium, you might say there's a lot of lights, but we're talking, you know, different size fields and different level of light needed. So I wouldn't want
Yeah,
to.
if you could, a 60 footer
Yep.
and a 70 footer,
Yep.
something similar, so that the neighbors and the planning board can maybe go take a look at it.
Sure.
It's just one more level of information that will help
Yep.
people develop an opinion.
Yep.
Okay, I'll open it up to anyone on the planning board. Any more questions or comments tonight?
I have a question for Mr. Delario.
Mr. Stein?
So the photometrics, it appears, if I'm reading this photometric chart correctly, that the spill actually goes across the street and into an abutter's yard. Is that correct? Hello?
Yeah.
Are you asking me?
Mike Delario?
It's
No,
Mike Berry.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
That's all
I
right.
wrote it down wrong.
Yes.
Apologize.
Yes.
Mr. Berry.
Yes. That's the area.
The
that
guy,
we-
the photometric guy. Sorry.
That's the area that we've been talking about in terms of continuing to try and work the spill so that it is kept off the property.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the area that we were talking about. We're at 0.09 now in terms of at the edge of that road. So under.
Okay, so this chart that's on the screen right now is no longer correct.
Correct. We've been working on
Okay.
updating it to get it as tight as we possibly can. Yes.
So for the next meeting, we'll have an updated chart to discuss.
Yep.
Karina, were there any abutters in support of this project?
Yes, I didn't have a chance to read them all, but there were 25 to 30 plus emails I received today, I think.
The question is abutters.
Oh, abutters. I have to distinguish that. I have to determine who's an abutter or not of those letters.
So at this time, we're not talking about lighting any other areas around Mary Finn School, right? We're just talking about this one field within the athletic complex. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the usage is just for U12 baseball, is it not?
Per the variance, yes.
So softball would not even be played on this field. It's not like this field is going to be rented out to for adult softball or adult anything. It's for 12-year-old youth Little League baseball, correct?
That's correct. That's what the variance states.
Would the proponent have any flexibility on the hours? I noticed you were looking for 9:30 on Fridays and Saturdays. We've had some abutter pushback on that. They want like 9 o'clock cut off every night. Is that something you'd be amenable to or open to evaluating?
I believe that the variance states Sunday to Saturday until 9 o'clock. Shut off at 9
Okay,
o'clock.
I must have misread that. I thought I saw Friday and Saturday at 9:30.
To correct, so
If it's,
it's Sunday through Thursday until 9 p.m. and then Friday and Saturday no later than 9:30.
Friday and Saturday.
so we can expect some butter feedback on that. I've already seen it. And we might want to consider conditioning for a 9 p.m. shut off nightly. That's it for me. Thanks.
Anyone else on the planning board? Questions, comments?
Don, I have a comment
Mimi,
regarding the accessibility. I just want to clarify.
Yep.
Is that all right?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So with the knowledge that the ADA committee is reviewing the project for accessibility, there was a little bit of unknown here and there regarding what's required. So I put a call into the Massachusetts Office of Disability, and they work with part of the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board, MAAB, and they're the state regulators of handicap accessible requirements under part of 521 CMR. And in speaking with Jeff Dugan, who's the Assistant Director of Massachusetts Office of Disability, he explained to me what the thresholds are regarding a project, and when you add a feature or you put an addition on or something like that, what would be required. And the lights are considered an addition to the fields, so that even though the lights are not a accessible product, so to speak, adding the lights to an athletic facility or field or tennis courts, whatever, is considered an addition. So it triggers some thresholds that require accessibility. And the first threshold is a 30% threshold, which compares cost of the project to the value of the property, the recently assessed pre-development worth of the property. So, for example, I believe the project costs here are approximately $200,000, maybe a little bit more. In the case with Mooney, there are several parcels here that make up the school, the parking, the ball fields, etc. And if you were to count all the parcels together, and the value of that would be, I think, like 41 million or 17 million, something like that. However, the parcel that the ball fields are on is an independent parcel, even though it's owned and contiguous by the same. It's worth, I believe, on the assessor's card is about $430,000. So if the state considers it per parcel, then you would trigger this 30% threshold, which would require you to make the bleacher accessible, the snack shack accessible, and those features within the project that are impacted. They're not saying you would, the other side is if they consider all 5 parcels together. So they weren't sure about that at the Office of Disability, and that they were going to get back to me on, an advisory on, because they have other places that ask the same question. The second threshold is the cost of the project. If a project is more than $100,000, then the project is required to provide one accessible entrance to the facility. In this case, the baseball field. So you would have to have an accessible opening in the chain link fence to get to the playing field that's a certain width, and also provides a flat surface of a certain dimension inside and outside of that access. Okay, so that is probably your best case here. And so you'd have to be sure that you include that in the plan, and I can email you that information so you know, but you would at least need that accessible entrance to the baseball diamond. And to be determined is whether the accessible access, the Architectural Access Board would require more than that based on the value of the property, depending on whether they opine contiguous parcels as one or just the parcel with the fields. Note that you can request a variance from the MAAB, but you'd have to go through that process. And like today, they were meeting and they meet and they had 60 variance requests today, and they spend all day looking at those 60s, and then they get back to the people and let them know if they're granted or not. So the other thing is to be very careful of your surfaces if you disturb them. For example, the walkway between Home Plate and First and the what do you call it? The batting cage and the snack shack. If you're disturbing that with your underground line, and right now it's a gravel or crushed stone surface, you'd have to make sure you put that back with a surface that is compliant. And one of the things they look for is like a 1/2-inch trip hazard. And it just takes, one complaint from someone who has a disability. It could, cause a lot of problems. So it's in your best interest to make sure you check those things and make sure the plans address that. And once, and all right, Eddie from Traverse, you can follow up with Jeff Dugan yourself. I have his contact information to get that directly from the horse's mouth so that you can completely understand what would be needed there and which way they opine for this project.
That's fine. I'll provide a letter with review of the field from an ADA accessibility. We had already done that, so we'll provide that and notes regarding disturbance to areas and that they have to meet the Massachusetts MAAB's requirements. We would be required by that to do that regardless with anything that we put back.
Yeah, and just make sure you're aware of those thresholds and what they're eventually going to tell you is required there, or tell the town or us, or in general. They were actually speaking more generically because they've had other people have the same issue with several parcels, or do you just count the one parcel? So it makes a difference, so they're going to figure that out.
If there's
All
nothing else from the board,
I have a question, Dawn.
go ahead, Mrs. Luttrell.
There's a big stone wall there along Parkerville that I don't see shown on the plans, and a huge elm tree. And I'm wondering how that trench is going to go in without disturbing either the wall or the elm tree.
We're not disturbing anything within the vicinity of that elm tree. The stone wall is on the plans. I'll try and zoom out to that. And then how we come across on the backside of that area, there's explicit notes on how to deal with trees in those areas. The only thing that's going on the backside of that wall, and this is the electrical plan, just so you're aware, is the cabinet. That's on the back side of the wall. It's not within the wall limits. We're not touching anything within the wall limits, and then trenching on the back side of what is the batting cages and the back of the concession stand.
So you do have noted on your plans trees to be protected, but it's not. Yeah, on there it talks about the protected trees as noted on the plans, or the trees to be protected noted on the plans?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was one of the comments in the Fuss and O'Neill notes. We'll address that through the Fuss and O'Neill notes as well, through the comments in Fuss and O'Neill. They had made that comment as well.
All set?
So there's a one other thing. There's a stream that abuts that. I don't know if that was noted on the plans and whether that is going to trigger something with Concom or not.
A stream that abuts what?
That baseball diamond.
There's a discussion on the backside where there's a wetland that's to the east that is noted on the plans. In the larger plan, there's a stream to the south of the property. We're well over 350 feet from anything. It doesn't fall within any of that disturbance.
Mimi, are you talking about the storm line that runs diagonally between the helicopter landing area zone and the diamond?
There is a stormwater structure back there that feeds to that stream, which is a tributary to this, to the
You're
sub.
talking about, and if you're looking at my mouse on the bottom of the page, this area down here, there's a stream tributary that comes through. That stormwater line's coming through. That structure feeds here and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're well without a range of that. We're well with over 300 feet of that. And again, that was noted on the Fuss and O'Neill plans. We'll address that through the comments to Fuss and O'Neill.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll open up to the public. Sarah, can you tell us how many participants we have tonight?
Yes, we currently have 43 people in attendance. We do have one gentleman, David Ficolo, I'm sorry if I'm probably butchering your last name, who has his hand up, so I'll allow him to talk.
Very good.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is David Fialco. I live at 10 Lyman Street. I'm also the vice president of Southborough Little League, and I'm speaking on behalf of the league. Southborough Little League is a nonprofit organization run entirely by volunteers from the town, and we're here to urge the board to approve the lights project without any further delay. These lights were and remain essential to ensure that Little Leaguers in town can play in safe conditions, especially in the spring and fall when it gets dark early. And the parents and volunteer coaches often commute from Boston when we're able to do that, and need to get home in the time for the start of games or to get home in time to finish those games before it gets dark. It's a fact that Southborough is one of the only towns in the area that does not have a lit Little League field. But that decision, of course, is and was not for this board. That was voted on as the will of town meeting 3.5 years ago. Here's how we got to this point. In late 2016, the Recreation Commission, then led by Brian Schifrin, with the open and full support of Southborough Little League, applied for and obtained a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals for 60 to 70 foot light towers, those being consistent with National Little League standards, because the zoning on the fields only allowed for 20-foot towers at the time. Southborough Little League in that process made numerous concessions for neighbors and others, including that the lights would not be used after 9 or 9:30, that was previously discussed, that the lights would only be used in games for children 12 and under, that the lights would only be used in tournaments in which Southborough participated, and that the lights would be turned off after games concluded and not used for practices after games. The truth here is that Southborough Little League has and had and has every intention of continuing to be a good neighbor to those that are around the field. In fact, we've gone ahead and spoken to other towns in the area and abutters those properties and have learned that the abutters to those properties have no issues with the lights in other towns like Northborough and other towns around us, and those even have less restrictions than we've agreed to here. After that, at town meeting on April 26, 2017, the town of Southborough voted to fund the lights. For a variety of reasons, unfortunately, which I'm not going to get into here, the project has been delayed. But with Recreation's fresh new leadership, this project is finally here before the planning board for approval. Recreation has gone above and beyond anything that should ever actually be or required for the installation of 4 light poles. It has, at significant and substantial cost, engaged civil and electric engineers and jumped through all of the hoops and demands that were made of it, whether those were necessary or reasonable, whether those were official or unofficial by people working behind the scenes against the project. To be clear, this project should have been completed years ago, and it should be approved immediately. As you consider this application, I remind you that we are here today because of the dedication, hard work, and commitment of the late Selectman Brian Schifrin. Sadly, Brian was not able to see these lights shine brightly over the ball fields that he loves so much. but is our genuine hope that Brian's kids and his daughter has 1 year left of Little League, and their friends and generations of kids after them can use and enjoy the lights as a shining beacon of his legacy. The town voted for these lights 3.5 years ago, and too many kids have already missed their chance to play under these lights because of this process. Please approve this light project without delay so that they can be used next spring during our baseball season. Otherwise, kids like mine, kids like Brian's who have 1 year left of Little League won't be able to play under them. Now, during today's presentation, several things have been said. And I thought what was remarkable was a comment that was made before everyone knew that there were viewers to this meeting. Someone commented that was when discussing whether to continue a meeting, the question was there was concern about the view from the public about causing more delay here. And I do think that's a very real concern. And I think that a lot of people that are watching this meeting have very serious concerns that there are those people in town that are actively working against this process and this project. And a lot of the things that are being brought up should not be a part of this process. We can only ask that this board do its job and consider the project and the parts of this project that are properly before it. And again, we ask that the board approve this without any further needless delay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
John, I did receive an email from Bonnie Faniff. I'm not sure if she's in the audience. Is this something we should read at the next meeting or, okay.
Yeah, at the next meeting. That's somewhat of a technical email. So when you distribute it, people will have an opportunity to understand the technicality of it and also be able to, talk to it. When I read it, it prompts.
It talks
further,
about depths and widths and things like that, right? It's more technical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, is there anyone else from the public? We're going to continue this, hopefully entertain a motion to continue the public hearing. Anyone else from the public? I just want to,
John, just to point out, 43 attendees currently on the meeting, and there are there's one hand up just now.
Okay.
Sarah, can you?
Yep, I'm all set.
Okay. Jean Carmelek.
All set.
You just have to unmute yourself, Jean.
Hi, I'm Gene Carmelek. I'm a resident of Wildwood Drive. I received a letter regarding this meeting, and I was very moved by the presentation of the president of the Little League, and I just want to give my support for this project and hope that the committee will move forward without further delay. Thank you.
Jean, could you just state your address?
29 Wildwood Drive.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Yeah. What? No one else?
Jim Logan has a hand up.
Okay.
All set?
Oh, sorry. I was looking for the unmute button. Can you hear me okay? Great. Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm in a butter of the property. I live at 5 Mooney Lane, and I too want to support the endeavor and would like to see the board move this forward and build these lights for the players of the league.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yep, we have Doug.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So this is Doug Vans from 3 Killam Farm Lane. Southborough resident, father of 3 kids, 2 little leaguers, and unfortunately, I did miss the opportunity for my son to play on a lit field. He just aged out, but I want to say I strongly support this. It's very important that we do have this lit field for our kids that are 12 and under, particularly now in the COVID-19 era and even after. So just want to say I support this and hope you guys move forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, we have Kristen Schifrin.
Hi, it's Christine Schifrin. I'm Brian Schifrin's widow, and I just want to reiterate what people have been saying before. This was an issue that Brian worked many, many years on trying to get forward. I thought that has already been resolved. So I hope that the board moves to move this forward after all of his hard work and all of those in Southborough baseball. It's important for our kids. Thank you.
Kristen, can you please state your address?
Thank you.
2 Lovers Lane in Southborough.
Thank you.
Those who have not raised your hand, there'll be an opportunity at the continued public hearing, and any public hearing relative to this or other site plans. So if you didn't have something to say tonight, there'll be other opportunities going forward. So we're going to try to listen to everyone that wants to speak, receive your emails and read them, listen to your comments on Zoom, so on. Is there anyone else right now?
Yes, Kristen Lavalde.
Hi, it's Kristen Laval, 12 Southwood Drive. I'm also a member of the Rec Commission who's on this evening. I have one follow-up question. I remember vividly sitting next to Brian when this passed at town meeting. Here we are, obviously several years later, but even just today, I feel like new information might have been brought to the table in regards to your conversation with the ADA. Although it does sound like Art might have that accounted for already, given its expertise. But I think our concern is that it's another detail that hadn't previously come up, at least in our dialogues with you. I don't want to speak for the dialogues between Tim and Art and team. Why, if you don't mind me asking, did the conversation with the ADA happen so late in the game? And are there other conversations planned that could bring potentially additional requirements to the table?
John, I can speak to that initially. Or would you like me to just hold on?
I'll try to, I wanted to address in a general way how we got to this point and people's concerns. I think the answer is yes, it's possible that other things will come up that apply to this that have not been included in the submittal. So there's as all the speakers have said, there's a long history to this project. And there's a very thoroughly documented chronology of interaction between the proponent, which is the Recreation Commission, and the Planning Department. And it's multiple meetings, emails, and documentation of what's been submitted. And up until just recently, the materials that were submitted didn't reach the level of a valid submittal under site plan for a public hearing. So it took a long time for the proponent, working with the town, working with the other departments, to get to this point. And as I said at the beginning, that we have 50 comments from the consultant, which is a very high number. So, and then even tonight, when we were looking at some of these plans, it was revealed that the plans are not, that the plans require updating. They have to, there's revisions on the way. So you really have to understand that it's been a long process, but it's only been before the planning board officially tonight. Actually, 3 weeks ago, when we received the submittal that was determined by the town planner to be complete enough to submit it to the town clerk for to launch the public hearing process. If people are interested in the details of the earlier submittals, the town planner has that in great detail as to the omissions, conflicting information, and errors. But we're off to a good start, I think, tonight. And I must tell you that the planning board receives applications for site plans all over town, and they range from parking garages and vehicle maintenance facilities, parking lots, office buildings. Almost every one of them involves exclusively grown-ups. This is a project that involves almost, to the greatest extent, children. And so it's been the board's position relative to not just this project, but when we did the site plan at Choate Field, that we have to make sure that it's safe for the children. And we have all the answers. We cover all the possibilities and make sure that it's safe. And we're going to continue to do that. And we appreciate the proponent doing the same thing. So we've heard, I think, without, I guess, people understanding the process, that the project is being delayed by the planning board. And when we hear that, it's unfortunate for us to hear that, because that's not the case. The submittal has to be complete, and it has to be meet in full compliance with all of the codes. And we're at that point now where we're able to start to look at that. And when we did, our consultant comes up with 50 comments. And we heard tonight that the proponent's consultant is ready and able to address them. So hopefully we're off to a very good start tonight. And hopefully we'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to November 2nd and make further progress.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Stein.
is the motion to 7:15 on November 2nd?
Karina?
Hold on. Let me just tell you. The motion would be for, same as this one, 7:10. 7:15 probably wouldn't be an issue. We do have Chestnut Hill Farm Barn in the queue as a public hearing prior to the lighting projects, which is at 7:05.
Yeah, we extended that to 7:05.
Right. So you can say 7:10 or 7:15, and the Neri lights would follow at 7:15 or 7:20.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we extend the major site plan review for Mooney Baseball Field athletic lighting to November 2nd at 7:10 p.m.
Was that Mrs. Luttrell saying second?
Yeah.
Very good. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor. Morris, yes.
Stein, yes.
Luttrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Very good. We'll see you all on November 2nd. We're off to a good start, and we'll keep it moving.
What
Thank
time
you.
was that, Don?
7:10.
7:10.
7:10, thank you.
Can I just ask a question for clarification? With the meeting on the 2nd, when would the updated package be due to the planning board for substantial time for you to review prior?
Well, typically the planning board needs it 7 days prior, but the sooner you get it to us, it still has to go back to Fuss and O'Neill for re-review. And they usually operate up to a 2-week time frame to turn around, possibly expediting this if it's a follow-up review, so it might be faster. So at least 7 days according to the application instructions. So the sooner the better, the faster we can redistribute it, get it back to Fuss and O'Neill and have them get back to, their review comments back to us. I know from my own experience, being on the other side of the table, it's usually a 1-month process to get plans, get them back, get the review comments, and get to the next meeting. The planning board here holds meetings almost every 2 weeks to help move the process along, but it's not always at the point where everything's resonating at that next meeting. But we hope to get sooner you get them in, the better.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah, just it would be good to get clarification on that because what you just said was they need 2-week review. That is today.
Well, it can come up to that. I've seen it before on more extensive projects, especially with, the list of comments here, depending on how many you can address and all that.
Yeah, I mean, most of the comments are not all comments, right? Some of our clarifications, so they're fairly simple, and some are, there's some questions that need to be answered, but most of them are fairly simple to review. So I wouldn't say there's 50 questions. My question is, if there's 2 weeks, if they truly need 2 weeks, that's today.
Yeah, they may not. That's what I'm saying. I can just tell you from my experience of how, it's not the only project in their queue. It's not the only project in our queue, but we try to have all the information in 7 days before. That's what the application says, so that the planning board has at least a chance to look at everything. I can't tell you that Fuss and O'Neill can have it in 2 days or 3 days. I can tell you as soon as they get it, depending on the amount of review they have to do and double checking everything. If it's little, that goes much faster. If things change a lot, it takes about the same amount of time. And I think they expedited it pretty quickly this time.
All right. The electrical comments are all completed and addressed.
Yeah, I just want to make sure if we're expediting and returning quickly, because we also need to address, I understand that this project and this project's not discussing Neri, but we have both. So
yeah, both will be on the same time.
We're seeing the same type of return if we're expediting plans out quickly as well. We can easily answer and address the questions. There's nothing major or groundbreaking on there that has sent up or any red flags right away. So.
Fair enough.
All set? We'll move on to the next item on the agenda then. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Hold on.
Next item on the agenda is a public hearing, 53 Parkerville Road, Neri School, Richardson, tennis court lighting, major site plan review. We will ask the town planner to read the public hearing notice.
Ready? Coming up. Okay, this is the public hearing notice, major site plan approval, Neri School Tennis Courts Athletic Lighting, 53 Parkerville Road, Assessors Map 43, Parcel 18. Per Section 17410 of the Southborough Zoning Code, the Planning Board of the Town of Southborough shall hold a public hearing on Monday, October 19th, 2020 at 7:15 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting to consider the application of the Town of Southborough regarding the property located at 53 Parkerville Road for major site plan approval. This hearing concerns a proposal to install athletic field lighting, tennis court lighting for 4 light poles, controls and wiring for the Neri School tennis courts, aka Richardson Tennis Courts. Pursuant to Government Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing limitations on in-person gatherings, there will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons wishing to participate in this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to https://www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. Copy of the plans and applications may be reviewed on the Planning Board's webpage, https://www.southboroughtown.com/planning-board. Donald C. Morris, Chair, Planning Board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So tonight, we have to explain that I am in a butter to that property. Mrs. Houlihan is in a butter, and we have both decided to recuse ourselves at this point. That leaves only 2 planning board members in session tonight. So what we would like to do is acknowledge that the public hearing is open and to respectfully ask that the hearing be continued with no action tonight to November 2nd, at which time we would hope that we would have 5 members in attendance, two of whom would recuse themselves, and the board could still function with the remaining 3 on November 2nd.
So, Mr. Chairman, would I make the motion then, and Ms. Latrell would second? Is that how that would go?
Well, I'd like to hear from the proponent if they have any questions, or to what extent what we're proposing they can comply with. Tim?
Yeah, I think it's agreeable given the situation of why there's no quorum. So we're not going to hold that against the board for any reason. I guess my only question is there anything we can present tonight? Now, just because we do have our colleagues here giving their time to get a head start on this whole thing, or are we adamant that this whole package be continued until the next meeting?
We can, you can present tonight. I'm looking, it looks like there's 31 participants. So I think what we'll do is we'll allow you to present your project and then take no questions or comments from the board or the public. But at least if you're able to present the information, the public will have a better understanding on November 2nd as to what the project is, and they can develop their questions, comments, or feel that they're all set. So yeah, we will recommend then that we allow for the presentation followed by no questions, comments, but a continuation of the public hearing. Is that okay, Tim?
Yes, that's agreeable. Thank you.
Don,
Thank
can
you.
I just interject?
Yeah.
Would that then require the absent planning board member to provide a Mullins rule?
Yeah, I just, if there was, we have 28 participants now, and for Mr. Mills to spend, we hope that your presentation would be under 10 or 15 minutes. He could comply with the Mullins rule with not a whole lot of effort, and that would help us, would help accommodate the people that have tuned in. And as usual, we usually put the public before ourselves relative to the effort. So, yeah, I agree. I think Mr. Mills would have to do that, but I think there's probably some more benefit to at least having the presentation and comply with Tim's request to do that, since and with the consultants being on Zoom tonight. Is that all set, Karina?
Yes, and just for clarification, the Mullins rule is that the absent member would review the video of this meeting and get himself up to speed with any information during the meeting so that he was prepared at the next public hearing meeting timeframe.
And there's a form that the absent member fills out and signs stating that he or she did that and is essentially through that process considered present or at least have enough the same information that was gained by the members that are present.
Yes, and it gets filed with the town clerk.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
right,
The
great.
number of participants seems to be dropping, so we better launch, Tim.
All right, so this is for 53 Parkerville Road. I'll just turn it straight over to Art. This is for lighting at the tennis courts at Neri School, known as the Patricia Richardson tennis courts. So Art, I'll let you take over the screen.
Can you hear me? So this is the Neri tennis courts at 53 Parkerville Road, map 43, lot 18. To your right is Parkerville Road. To your left is the Neri School. Due south is the Neri parking lot, D. Pietri soccer field. The proposal for this project is to bring power from an existing light pole on Parkerville Road overhead to a new pole proposed at the corner of Parkerville Road. There is a grass strip based on the D. Pietri project. We know the locations of the utilities. We're going to be placing the electrical line on that, in that grass strip along the edge. That power will come down, run to a box that will be at the back of the parking lot located here, which will distribute power to 4 poles at 50 feet located in these 4 locations. One of those locations falls within the wetland line. There was a determination, RDA, from conservation already for that. This also has the zoning variance, which was approved as well. And again, the limit of disturbance here, a little more significant, 39,142 feet, due mostly to the length of the road and trenching from Parkerville Road down to the tennis courts themselves. Similar to foundations and light poles, again, the same system, the same Musco system, a little bit different with the number of fixtures, but would also be LED fixture on the light poles. And then jumping quickly into also looking at foot candles. Again, when we look at foot candles here, there is actually no spill off the property lines from any of the lights, as you can see on this this summer here. Any questions on that?
We won't be doing any questions, Art.
No questions. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, we know that we have comments to address from Fuss and O'Neill. We'll address those comments similar to the Mooney project. We'll provide those as well as I will provide an ADA written letter for this project as well, even though it may not be required. We'll provide that for this as part of the moving forward as well. I don't know if you have anything else, Mike or Vin.
Yeah, I just saw a question pop up. The power to the field runs underground from the pole on this side of the road. It runs underground the whole way to the electrical enclosure at the back of that parking area.
Yeah, I apologize. That overhead only comes to that pole. The new pole goes across the street. Everything else is underground. From that entire section from Parkerville Road all the way to the cabinet and the cabinet to the lights.
Right.
Jesse, this is Karina. Can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
There is an administrative question on the chat box from Kristen Lavault. And I don't know if we're to address that or not. She says, I have an administrative question before we leave the topic.
Is
Kristen.
she admitted as a participant? Is she able to speak?
Karina, I think I can handle that question if you'd like.
Okay, Tim Davis just indicated that he could answer Kristen.
It's just a general, and I may be wrong, but I am talking to her on the side. We're just hoping to get a copy of Bonnie's letter so that we can review it as well on our side, just to be sure that we are answering and addressing her points as well as Fuss and O'Neill's questions. So as long as we can get our hands on a copy of that letter, we'd appreciate it.
All right then.
So the motion is to extend the public hearing for the Neri tennis court lighting permit site plan review to November 2nd at 7:15 p.m.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Can we vote on that? How would that work exactly, Karina? Since we don't have a quorum. Or is it just extended?
Because you only have two, right? You have you and Mimi. I don't know how it works. I think that you should probably take the motion and vote at least the two of you to continue, because at the beginning, the discussion was that it would just continue. I'll have to check with
Okay.
town
Roll call
council.
vote. Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda.
Right, sorry. So that means, hi, Dawn. Oh, hi, hold on one second, Dawn. Before everyone leaves, it is administrative and everyone can vote on that. So hold on, don't go anywhere, planning board members and Tim Davis. Dawn, can you launch back into the meeting? All right, we have Dawn. I'd like to get Marnie back as well. Sarah, are you able to contact Marnie?
Yep.
Thank goodness for technology. Thanks, Dawn. So we're just waiting for Marnie to get back.
No, we've done this numerous times where we've opened the public hearing and continued with no input, no action by the board or the public, which is the case here tonight. So therefore, we're able to vote on continuing it. All of us are able to vote to continue the hearing. That's the only action that the board can take. So Mr. Stein made the motion. It was seconded, and he and Mrs. Latrell voted yes. I'd like to vote Morris yes.
Houlihan, yes.
So the majority of the board has voted to continue the public hearing to November 2nd.
Thanks, Dawn.
Okay, thank you. I'm quite sure we did it right, but either way, we'll see you on November 2nd.
I was stumped.
Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thanks, folks.
Next
Thank you.
item on the agenda is a discussion item. EDC Village Mixed Use District, VMUD, bylaw status. Karina.
All right. Let me just grab that folder.
Scenic tree removal?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Dawn. It's the public tree hearing for the DPW listed trees on the Scenic Road under the policy that we're working on.
Oh, for some reason, it's not on my agenda. Maybe I printed the wrong one.
7:45, public hearing?
Yeah, I don't have it. Okay.
That's
Next
all right.
item on the agenda is, what is it?
It is the public hearing for the scenic road tree removal of the DPW listed 10 trees.
We'll ask the town planner to read the public hearing notice.
All right. Public hearing notice, scenic road tree removal hearing. The Southborough Planning Board, pursuant to the requirements of the town of Southborough's draft tree removal policy, will conduct a public hearing and a virtual meeting on Monday, October 19th, 2020 at 7:45 p.m. to discuss the removal of 10 trees located on Breakneck Hill Road, Gilmore Road, Lovers Lane, Middle Road, Mount Vickery Road, and Oregon Road. The trees range in size from 14-inch to 48-inch and consist of 1 maple tree, 2 ash trees, and 7 oak trees. Each tree is posted with a laminated placard. Tree visits will occur starting at 10:30 a.m. on Friday, October 16th, 2020, and will follow the route posted at https://www.southboroughtown.com/tree-grounds. A complete list of the proposed tree removal locations, species, size, and pictures can also be found at https://www.southboroughtown.com/tree-grounds. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing limitations on in-person gatherings, there will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons wishing to participate in this meeting while in progress may do so by going online to https://www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. Any person wishing to be heard on the proposed subject should virtually appear at the time and place designated. Objection to the proposed removals may be made in writing prior to the hearing. Southborough Planning Board, Donald C. Morris, Chair, Planning Board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you want to give us the update on this, Karina?
Sure. Just so the public's aware, the planning, there is a working group consisting of town council, town administrator, Board of Selectmen member Sam Stivers, Mimi Luttrell as planning board representative, myself as town planner, and Karen Galligan, director of DPW. And we are in the final stages of a public shade tree removal policy or street tree removal policy to clarify how you go about getting a tree removed. The hearings involves the permitting, utility involvement, utility company involvement and such. And in the interim of that, it was agreed that we would try that the scenic road tree removals are usually only held in consolidation with a tree warden hearing if the trees are being removed on a scenic road due to roadway construction, widening, improvement. As part of the working group, it was agreed that all scenic roads would have a consolidated tree warden and planning board meeting hearing. Those beyond that, just roadway construction or drainage projects would incur. So as part of that, we kind of did a test run, and we weren't able to consolidate a hearing with this one. There's also some work that we're still doing in the working group to decide what the best approach is, consolidated or not. So the planning board public hearing was scheduled to this evening. The DPW tree warden held their tree warden hearing on Friday at noon at the DPW. And they also posted a meeting for that and put placards on trees. So in conjunction with that, we're having this tree removal hearing for these scenic road trees that are proposed to be removed. Mimi Luttrell attended that public tree warden hearing and the tour of the trees as well. So she may be able to provide any feedback that occurred at that hearing. So on the DPW website and also on the planning board website, we posted the list of trees that the DPW had proposed, as well as photographs of the trees. And that's where we are.
Thank you.
Long
Mrs.
sentence.
Luttrell.
I went on the drive-by tree tour with the tree warden, the DPW superintendent, and an arborist. And I learned a lot. So most of the trees that were on the scenic road list were dead. There were a couple that at the hearing before the tree warden at the DPW on Friday that they decided to not, that weren't dead, but needed some pruning to make them safer so they wouldn't fall over. One was 32 Breakneck Hill, which is alive, but it's leaning over a driveway in a house. And they decided they would ask the contractor to trim some of those limbs and even out the weight on the tree so it wouldn't be leaning so heavily over the house. And the other one was at 25 Mount Vickery. A resident had asked that that tree be removed, but it's alive. They asked it to be removed because they said it was impeding their sight line when they were trying to get out of the driveway. So they, tree warden also said that he would ask the contractor to trim the lower limbs on that to make the sight view easier, but to otherwise leave the trees. The other ones were in pretty bad shape, either completely dead or very diseased, soon to be dead. Any other questions I'd be happy to answer.
So, Mimi, break it down into, we're talking about, there's 10 trees in the hearing tonight. How many of them are dead?
8.
So there's only two out of the 10 are going to, it's been decided will be just trimmed and left standing?
That was the outcome of the hearing at the, with the tree warden at the DPW, yes.
And do you agree with that? Or recommend that the board agree with that?
I do agree with that. Some of them, a lot of them were really dead, no leaves, very obviously dead for somebody who has no arborist knowledge at all, like me. The others, I questioned the arborist on a lot, and he showed me where the problems with the trees. Some of them had big, huge wounds, and if you poked at them, the wood was just completely squishy, which isn't a very good sign. So I concurred with his expert opinion that he showed me on the trees that I questioned.
So so I guess we'll open it up to the board for questions and comments, which I think you would be asked to answer. Mr. Stein.
Mimi, thank you very much for covering this. Due to time constraints, I was not able to participate in the site visits. So really appreciate you stepping up and taking care of this. For 25 Mount Vickery and 32 Breakneck Hill Road, were the pruning plans presented to the residents in question, and did they have any feedback?
The tree warden spoke to the resident at 32 Breakneck Hill on site. He came out when we were there discussing the tree. I think that he was okay with that plan. The other one, we didn't see the resident at that particular time. I don't know if they have since reached out to the DPW on 25 Mount.
Yeah, the reason I asked, Mimi, is it looks like the residents had requested removal. But it sounds like you guys landed on pruning instead of removal, right?
They were both live trees.
So at least in the case of 25 Mount Vickery, you felt like the pruning would have relieved the sightline issue.
Yes.
Sorry, that was a question.
No, Mount Vickery the tree was leaning over the house. The sightline was Lovers. Is that right?
No.
According to the
Breakneck
notes,
Hill
yeah,
Road.
it says 25 Mount Vickery, resident requests removal, feels it's a sightline issue.
Sorry.
And I was just asking Ms. Luttrell if, since the resident wasn't at that one, if it seemed, at least from her perspective anyway, that the pruning would alleviate the sightline issue. Obviously it did. Stupid question. I'm all set. Thanks.
Mrs. Houlihan.
Thanks. Okay, so I just have just a question in process. So I know we all agreed, Mimi, I think I was going to try and make it, I drove by each one and checked out each tag and looked at it. I'm not an arborist, I'm not a tree specialist. If you weren't able to come tonight, how would we have received this information from the hearing or the tree warden? Because I looked for it and I didn't see any actually official report.
So the information on the hearing, which I found out today, was not posted under the meetings, the hearing at the DPW, because evidently meetings are only for town boards and committees. But it was posted under, there's a hearing button on the front page of the town website, which I just found out about today, and it was posted there.
Okay, because I did spend time looking for what the tree warden said and I couldn't find it easily. So just purely process wise. That's just a point of note. So now that we know that, I mean, I know you guys, I've read all the stuff that you guys are putting forward with the recommendations on how you do this, but I think just communication and transparency of where information lies is always a really important thing. So thank you for doing that. Thanks for getting that information and sharing it with us. I have, as long as everything is clear and you have full confidence that our tree warden and the arborists have made the right decisions, then I'm for the removal of the trees. So thank you.
Anyone from the public, questions, comments?
I do not see any hands up at the moment.
I just want to point out that as a public hearing, just note that they are published in the newspaper. The tree warden public hearing, as well as the planning board public hearing, was posted in the newspaper. I know the planning board was posted twice, just because I didn't say that at the beginning. And usually I say a public hearing was.
That was all posted. It was just the findings from the tree warden. So
yeah.
We verbally get findings, and so that's where it was posted under a hearing button from Mimi, is what I'm hearing.
Well, I don't think the findings were just the hearing notice. I don't know
how they do the decision.
So then that's a question, Mimi. If let's just say you weren't here, how would we have ever gotten information from this hearing? It's a process point.
It is. That's a great question.
I think makes it important to have a consolidated hearing.
I 100% agree with you.
Right. And
Well,
further
that goes
down,
back to what I had said at a previous meeting about this. I liked it when the DPW and the arborist came to the planning board and presented this stuff. I feel like that's the appropriate process, but doesn't seem like that's how it's going. But I really feel like that was much better, and that way we're not relying on Mimi, who did a great job, but it's not fair to Mimi, in my opinion, to put this all on her.
no, and it's not falling on deaf ears, because at the meeting this morning, and we do have an agenda item to discuss the public shade tree removal policy to update you. But at the meeting this morning, there was heavy discussion on that importance of consolidating the tree warden and the planning board public hearing for scenic road trees, even though it's an expansion in when, not just during roadway construction projects, but also anytime there's a scenic road tree removal, that it was important, and not just for convenience internally, but also for ease and non-confusion for the public.
Well, town planner and I discussed this earlier today, and the focus really here, I mean, it's a public hearing, so every effort should be made to accommodate the public. 2 hearings doesn't accommodate the public. Especially if one of those hearings doesn't have the arborist or the tree warden at it, which is what we're at tonight. And then we also discussed, there was a concern that having the tree warden at the planning board public hearing would involve payment of overtime. And Karina, I think you indicated that the additional cost for the second hearing notice was how much, 130 something bucks?
About 135, 134 and change.
So if, you know, that's maybe more than what the overtime would cost, or it certainly will put a good dent in what the overtime would cost. So again, we do have to be cost effective, but we also have to be focused on public, the ease or the freedom of the public to participate in this. Anyone else from the public? Anyone from the public? So I guess it's appropriate for us to take a vote tree by tree or to bundle them.
I've seen it bundled in prior notices of votes.
So Mrs. Luttrell, could you make the motion to bundle the dead ones?
Sure. I move that we approve the removal of the following trees: 3 Gilmore, tag number 26, tag number 27, 20 Lovers Lane, tag number 1, 82 Middle, tag number 2, 82 Middle, tag number 11A, 54 Oregon, tag number 11B, 54 Oregon, tag number 13, 28 Oregon, tag number 22, 20 Oregon, which is actually across the street from 20, it's not really 20. Do I hear a second?
Second, because I never second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a discussion point, Mr. Chairman, only that just to reiterate the gratitude to Mimi for carrying the load on this one. And you know, quite frankly, if it wasn't for Mimi, I would probably either abstain or be recusing myself. But in this case, I'm going to vote to support. But under these conditions, if Mimi hadn't participated to the extent that she had, I wouldn't be supporting this.
Thank you. I had a question too. Was there any common, obvious or explained reason why these trees died? Were they damaged from cars hitting them, or lightning, or insects?
There were lightning and insects. A lot of them were trees that were inappropriate for the location. There were a lot of sugar maples by the road, which are not salt tolerant. So they don't last long as road trees.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Any more discussion? All in favor, Morris, yes.
Stein, yes.
Mimi, you're muted. Okay. Okay.
Houlihan, we just can't hear you, Mimi. Do it one more time.
Latrell, yes.
We got you that time.
Okay.
And then the other two trees for pruning. So would the motion be to not approve the removal? Mrs. Latrell.
I move that we do not approve the removal of the following trees, but allow them to be pruned instead. Tag number 5, 32 Breakneck. Tag number 6, 25 Mount Vickery.
Second.
Excellent. Excellent. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Morris, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Very good. Does that conclude the public hearing?
Yes, it should. There'll be some additional discussion under the discussion item for public shade tree removal policy at the end. Some
So
small things.
Close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the public hearing for public shade tree removal.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Morris, yes.
Stein, yes.
Houlihan, yes. But Mimi, do it one more time. We couldn't hear you.
Sorry. Latrell, yes.
Very good. Public hearing is closed. Move on to the next item on the agenda, which I think is a discussion item.
Yes, it is.
VMUD
Yeah, the village.
bylaw
mixed
status.
use- Yes. And Sarah, since you've been working closely on this, maybe you can give a brief summary, up-to-date status of where they're at, the EDC is at.
Sure. So the EDC, has been working on the VMUD initiative for a while. They hired Judy Barrett, a consultant, and then there was a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen. SHOPSI also attended, as well as the Planning Board on October 6th. It was, I think, a really productive meeting in kind of outlining what the vision is for downtown and trying to get that really well defined so that Judy can take steps to rewrite a potential new zoning district for the downtown area. I did have an opportunity to listen into the EDC meeting from last week, and they were talking about how this particular grant that's funding the initiative is going to be concluded in June of 2021. So there is kind of a time factor in terms of getting a warrant article to town meeting for the spring. So that's most of it.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
Sarah, we have Selectman Lisa Brascio wants to add. Please.
Yes, I will allow her to talk. Lisa, you're all set?
Hi, Lisa.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Welcome to
Wow.
the planning board.
Thank you so much. Lisa Brascio, 13 Oregon Road, member of the Board of Selectmen. Good evening, Chairman Morris and members of the board. I just wanted to give you a couple additional updates on top of what Sarah had said, and the Board of Selectmen will be updated as well tomorrow. First, I wanted to thank you for attending the joint meeting. I thought amazing progress was achieved, and I thought it was a great collaborative effort between everyone. So I wanted to update you that since the EDC meeting on Friday, that the point person, Julie Conley from the EDC, and I had a conversation with Judy Barrett, and we have agreed to update her contract. It's going to be approved and executed at the Board of Selectmen's meeting tomorrow. And what she's going to provide is she's actually started working on, based on the feedback received at the joint meeting and the suggestions from the planning board regarding dividing the districts. She's doing a subsection for the business village district, town center district. And we're actually going to have a first draft of that on Wednesday, along with the comment matrix. So that's definitely good news. So I'd also like to request of you, Chairman Morris, that if possibly you could put a discussion item on your next agenda so you could review the draft of the initial zoning update and provide some feedback. And Judy will consolidate the feedback, and we'll probably have potentially another joint meeting in the future, but at least we can get moving forward. And obviously we're all interested in what planning board has to say, and to continue the collaborative effort that we have started.
Excellent, thank you. So our next meeting is November 2nd. Is that okay?
It will be okay if it has to be okay. So, I mean, we're on a time frame, but I think there's a little bit of leeway in that time frame for potentially a Springtown meeting. Obviously, we all want to get the article that's going to pass town meeting with support of everybody. So however long it takes, though we'd like to stay as much on a time frame as we can, but who knows, obviously with COVID, whether, you know, we're going to have a Springtown meeting, whether it's going to be March or whether it's going to be June again. So I think we do have the window of opportunity here. Obviously, it's imperative that we all get on the same page, and, you know, we all have general consensus of what we want to see downtown, and you know, how it's put to paper, because again, it's a bylaw that's going to last generations. So obviously we want to do the right thing, and we want, obviously this is your forte as planning board, and I think EDC has laid the groundwork, and you know, now it's up to all of us to take it to the next level.
So any comments from the planning board as far as putting this on the November 2nd agenda?
When you say this, Don, we're talking a discussion item similar to what we've been carrying?
Yes, discussion item. There's no
Yeah.
action for us.
No, but I mean, we've been carrying the EDC VMUD bylaw status as a standard agenda item. Is it to be renamed to be more clear, updated?
Why don't we leave that up to you when you get the product that we're going to get before the meeting? And as Lisa said, expect us to read it and provide comments back on or before November 2nd.
Okay, sounds good. And then, go ahead.
No, sorry, Karina. So we'll have a draft by the end of day on Wednesday. So Karina, as soon as we get that will be forwarded to you.
Okay, super. Just make sure we copy Sarah on that.
Absolutely.
And then also you had a question, Lisa, regarding a point person.
So as we move forward in the process, I think what we're now actually having drafts to discuss, and, you know, with the comment matrix and so forth. I don't know if that's as pertinent as it was
Okay.
before. I know that Mimi had attended meetings before and kind of, been the point person. But I think at this point, it's more taking the first draft, and EDC will look at it at their meeting. They'll discuss it. The Board of Selectmen will discuss it at our next meeting as well. And then taking those comments. So I don't necessarily know that it's imperative at this point, because most of the discussion seems to be going to be collaboratively done.
Okay, just wanted
so-
to make sure, didn't get
Yep.
missed.
No, thank you, Karina. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And lastly, I want to thank you guys for, for coming to the joint meeting and for giving us input on things that, is important to the planning board as far as, standards and what the best path forward was. So again, thank you for continuing to collaborate on this, and look forward to continuing down that path.
And
Thank
thanks
you.
to Marty Healy too for getting the ducks in a row and helping this move forward. 'Cause
Absolutely.
that was a big push.
It was, and I will share that with him as well, Karina. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Lisa? You all set?
That's it for me. Thank you again. Have a great
Oh.
night.
Always good to hear from you.
Alrighty. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Next item on the agenda. Discussion item, public shade trees. Karina,
Okay, we did talk a little bit about this during the tree removal hearing. Mimi and I and Sam Stivers, Mark Purple, Town Council Aldo Cipriano, Karen Galligan met this morning, and we were trying to come to terms on, number one, the importance of a consolidated tree warden planning board public hearing as opposed to two separate hearings. Karen Galligan was still adamant about, since these were not truly Chapter 40, Section 15C, scenic road tree removals based on roadway construction projects, that there wasn't really the need for a consolidated tree warden planning board public hearing. But I believe Mimi and I think Sam Stivers as well, were somewhat in consensus, or actually a lot in consensus on this topic, that it was important for the public to have a consolidated meeting in order to avoid confusion, to clarify the process of when you can say you don't want a tree removed. Is it by the beginning of the tree warden hearing, or is it by the beginning of the planning board public hearing? It just clarified a lot. And speaking to Jesse's concern about how it was done previously, it's one person coming to the planning board meeting or public hearing, meaning the tree warden, versus trying to get 5 planning board members to attend a middle of the day public hearing that the tree warden, represented it in this past week here. So that was the first point. And the second point was the appeal. Right now, appeals go to the Board of Selectmen. And in trying to explain that this is more of this change of all scenic road tree removals having a consolidated hearing, it's an expansion of Chapter 40, 15C. And it would be better not to, and I understand where Karen Galligan's coming from, but it would be better not to inject this third process. We have a tree warden public hearing, we have a planning board public hearing for stormwater. If you have, for scenic road, now you have this quasi in between, 2 public hearings on the same topic at 2 different times. I think it injects a lot of confusion. So I'm, my personal opinion as town planner would be to keep it consolidated. So that's where I stand. And the appeal, well, I don't think it's bad that it goes to the Board of Selectmen as part of an appeal. Aldo explained this morning, and Mimi, maybe you can clarify if I get this wrong, that that it can go to Board of Selectmen and keep it local, but it ultimately can always go to a court appeal if something's not satisfied for somebody. So Mimi, I don't know if you have something to add to that from the meeting this morning.
I agree with you, Karina. I think having a consolidated hearing is the only way to go. Having, as you said, under home rule, we're suggesting that we expand the scenic road bylaw to include all trees on scenic roads as consolidated hearings, as they would be if there was road work being done that would require the removal of the tree. As far as the appeal, under chapter 84 or 87, whatever it is,
87.
public shade trees is silent on appeal, except for it says if anybody objects to the removal, then it goes to the Board of Selectmen. But it doesn't really call out an appeal, and scenic road doesn't say anything about appeal. But if the only way to get the Board of Selectmen to agree to have consolidated hearings on scenic roads is to allow the appeal process to go through them, then I'd be fine with that. I think it's more important to have a streamlined, easy to understand process that actually serves the public, having a consolidated hearing.
Also, all the players at one public hearing, because as Marnie pointed out earlier this evening, what was the feedback from the tree wardens public hearing on these? And I couldn't speak to it because we didn't receive any kind of formal letter yet or follow up, but because you had attended that, you were able to update the planning board on that and whoever attended in public for this. So it just seems like we want to make the process easier and clearer and straightforward. And that's the whole idea of this policy, is for clarification. And this trial run created some, added rabbit holes and such that you can go down, and it kind of proved that a consolidated public hearing is the way to go, I think. But I do understand Karen's viewpoint and the flexibility of it, but I just think that in the public's best interest, we would have the tree warden feedback to the planning board all at one meeting. The public would attend, they could hear both sides at one time, not having to figure out which one do I have to go to hear what. That's all I have to say on that.
Anything more on this agenda item?
I think Marnie has a question.
Yeah, I am. So I read the new draft, and so kudos. I guess it was Sam who started the process overview, just the visualization of how it works. I think that's an excellent addition to the process. So I think what my point would be to have, as you guys kind of finalize this last iteration, what I have is Karen's edits. There's a section under public shade tree removals. And so I know she's still pushing to say that a planning board and a meeting with the town warden are still required, and they will do the best they can to have one. I don't think that's the best policy. And if there's if I think it should be one meeting, and if there's some situation that is unavoidable, then there has to be something very clearly communicated that if it's only one meeting, where the tree warden, maybe can't make it to the planning board, or I don't know if whatever the situation would be, but there has to be something that says a communication within one business day of from the insights of the tree warden, or the tree warden isn't able to attend a meeting, that person document their findings to submit to the meeting. I just don't think it's a productive use of anybody's time to have two separate meetings, and do our best effort to have one. So I just want that kind of on record.
Anything else? Anyone of the participants interested?
Sam Stivers has his hand up right there.
I was hoping
Yep.
hoping Sam was there.
All set?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Thanks for the opportunity to chime in here. I just have a process comment that It was actually pretty interesting to watch. I attended both of the tree warden hearings this past week. I did not have a chance to do the drive around as Mimi did, but I listened to the tree warden and the arborist, and I think they're actually doing a good job with this. Fairly thorough evaluation, thoughtful comments, et cetera. So I was pleased to hear that. From a process standpoint, I was asked to try to pull together an overview of the policy approach so everybody would have a clear picture, be on the same page with it. And my hope was that by some miracle, everybody would be on the same page generally, and it would be a simple process to write it down and report to the selectmen and said, here's what everybody is agreeing to. And we're actually pretty close. There's the one remaining issue is this joint hearing thing. And as Karina and Mimi commented, DPW is still not fully on board with that concept. And so what I'm headed toward doing, probably not tomorrow night at the selectmen's meeting, but getting out on an agenda as soon as I can to get some feedback from the Board of Selectmen saying, you know, what is the will of the Board of Selectmen relative to this issue? We have not discussed it in a public hearing so far, and we need to do that. And once we figure that out, if it turns out the Board of Selectmen thinks there should be a joint hearing for all of these removal decisions, then I think we can deal with DPW in that context. If we don't believe that's the case, then we've got some more work to do on it. So that's my near-term assignment, is to get a little more guidance from my colleagues on the Board of Selectmen and continue to move toward having a policy that everybody is, again, in agreement with, or at least on board with, in terms of here's how it's going to work. But I think the good news is that when the right parties are involved, I think we've been reaching some good decisions, which was comforting to me. So again, appreciate the support of the Planning Board on this, and more news to come, but I think we're headed in a good direction. So thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Sam, a question?
Mrs. Houlihan. Oh.
Sorry, me. My one comment is just, as an elected board, we speak for the people that we've been elected by. I think that personally, we are elected. The DPW is a direct report of the Board of Selectmen. So I would just really like to honor our town and the way that we should, excuse me, the way that we should do things.
Marnie, you froze. Hold on. Her screen froze for a second.
Yeah, looks like it.
There, you're back now. Marnie, you froze for about 15 seconds with no sound.
Internet is stable, but actually I'm unstable. Okay.
All right.
So my apologies. So my only point was just to say, as we are elected members representing the community. So I would just strongly advocate that as elected board members, I would strongly advise a joint meeting, and that the DPW is a direct report of Board of Selectmen and their employees of the town. So I just want to be very kind of forceful in that statement and have you guys take that back to the Board of Selectmen.
I certainly respect that, Marnie, and we've actually had a fair amount of conversation about that very point, how the two elected boards interact in a reasonable way here. So I think there's a lot of interest in making sure we get that right. Thank you.
Yeah, Mimi.
Sam, do you think it would be helpful if there was a formal letter from the planning board to the Board of Selectmen on our position on this consolidated hearing subject?
I don't think it would hurt. I think that would be a useful thing. Yeah, thank you. So, and again, my request is going to be to get it on the topic for our next meeting after this one, which I think is November the 5th or something, 4th, after the day after election. So I don't know if there's room on that agenda, but I will push for it.
Planning board want to?
Muted.
You're muted.
Technology stuff is just too much for me. Does the planning board want to send a formalized letter to the Board of Selectmen voicing our support or preference or stronger for a consolidated hearing?
I think the answer is yes, right?
Yes, I would like to.
You there, Jesse? Okay. Sounds like Karina's writing a letter. No, she and I will, Karina, you do the rough draft. You and I go over it with Sarah and we'll
Yeah,
come up.
we'll do. Sarah will give some good tips. We'll get it done.
We'll assure the board that it will cover the points that were just verbalized across the board here. Literally across the board. Anything else on this one? Public shade trees, and thanks so much to Sam for working with this and Mimi for, I don't know, every agenda item, Mrs. Luttrell is heavily involved, which is great.
She is.
Super
Okay,
helpful.
we'll move on to the planner's report.
All right, just quickly here. Coming up on next agenda will be Stonebrook Village. Last fall or prior to the state of emergency, they had some landscape changes. It was the 40 arborvitaes were replaced with 22 white pines, and that started to be a discussion. So that'll be coming up on the next planning board agenda. Question, I just kind of want to field this out there. When does the planning board feel the time frame for the zoning amendments should get back on the radar? And Sarah, if you have anything to add to this, let me know. And Marnie, I couldn't hear you. You were muted.
No, I just was saying, oh, I'm glad that's on your topic because I was going to raise that. I saw they opened the warrant article and I wanted to say, do we have to put these back up?
Yes, we have to have public hearings, right, Sarah?
Yeah, you know, in order for us to follow kind of the same timeline that we followed this time last year to be prepared, those, you know, hearings should likely start in December, at the December meeting or perhaps at the first meeting in January, so that we're prepared for that spring meeting.
I would recommend the January start. It's tough to start things in December.
Yes. So yeah, so right after the first of the year, we'll get those going again.
So can I ask you just a clarifying question? Do we because we did get feedback, but we got that feedback after with the warrant got published. Can we go ahead and make all those changes and now provide a brand new like amendment that
Is cleaner?
Yes.
I think so, because it's going to be a brand new public hearing, a brand new posting. So, you know, I think that it would make sense to put those updates in there.
Right.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of getting public input.
Right.
If we like it, we'll make the change. Anything else?
Yes, it's budget time again. So I'll be preparing the planning board budget middle to end of this week, reviewing it with Dawn next week, hopefully. I know in the past that planning board members had indicated that Dawn would work with me to finalize that budget, and then I can bring it before the planning board for final review, or just so that you're in the know.
So has the, as in past years, the word travels through the departments that you need to cut your budget by 10%, or you're allowed to have your budget increase by 10%. There's usually guidance. It's never 10%, but there's usually guidance that's provided, and it's because the town administrator seems to have a really excellent feel for what's coming, what's essential, what the whole town budget could look like, and he provides that type of guidance. Has there been anything like that yet?
If I recall, at the last department head meeting, and I could be mistaken, or it's in an email from Brian Valentine via Mark Purple or vice versa, it's supposed to be level funded, if not reducing, because of the pandemic and the state of emergency. So to add to that, we have new software program that we have to use this year, as opposed to just the standard Excel spreadsheet. So we had some training on how to incorporate the budget and the notes and everything so that it's in one place in the software. So we always make an attempt, we always strive to have a most efficient budget with no waste, not over project or anything like that. And if we can hold level or reduce, that's always the goal. But some of these initiatives do require ongoing process like open space monitoring, and depending on, you know, the level of those and assistance to the master plan committee with any needs they have for the master plan, things like that. We did pick up recording secretary services for SHOPSI and master plan committee in the last budget, so we'll be carrying those again. But short answer is, I believe we're supposed to strive to stay level funded, if not reduce where possible.
The new software that you've been trained on, does the software work for us, or do we work for the software?
I think it'll work for us, but it will also make it good for the big picture. It's very similar. I'll base it, what I'll do is, and I think what a lot of department heads are going to do is, they kind of still rely on their old spreadsheet, but this first year, we're using this new software, we'll then transfer the information into the proper place in the software. And as we get used to what you can attach for notes and breakdowns, that were always the second and third pages of our budget. So the budget, page 1 was always like the bottom line items for the account numbers. And then the second was the breakdown of the salaries and the projected increases. And then the third page was always a really detailed breakdown of, you know, what associations, what kind of training, what contracts you were anticipating for the year, any supply costs, mileage, recording secretary, anything like that was fully broken down so you could see what was changing from year to year. So that data is going to just be put into the software this year, kind of, you know, transition as you get used to the software. Then you won't eventually need that other spreadsheet. You'll be working right in the software. So
this year we'll be doing double.
A little bit, yeah, sort of, yeah. That's how I'll learn it myself. So
It's always a concern when we get new software that we wind up working for it. Anything else on that one?
first. Nope, that's it. Just a notice, I forwarded Melissa Danza, conservation agent, had municipal vulnerability preparedness designation letter and some information about listening sessions and such that I had forwarded to you. I've not heard back from 118, 120 Turnpike regarding the major site plan approval from last year and the proposed parking garage. I did get a call from Mr. Stephen Cox from Curo, who's represented the people who conveyed it to Ferris, the developer. So we'll be finding out what's going on there as far as that land gift, because according to, I believe, the building commissioner and I have a consensus that the project was started with the courtyard improvements that was included as part of that site plan approval. So I don't know where that stands for that proposed land gift for the parcel in the back, 6 acres or so. So we'll follow up on that. I think that's it for this evening, unless somebody else has something. Then we just have the meeting minutes left.
Mr. Stein.
I would like to make a motion that the planning board approve the meeting minutes from September the 28th.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Is Kate one of the participants?
No, she had a conflict this evening, so she
No, I'm kidding.
apologized. Okay.
I'm kidding.
All
Motion's
right.
been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor. Morris, yes.
Stein, yes.
Latrell, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Okay. Our next meeting is November 2nd. Anything else from the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, Morris, yes.
Stein, yes.
Houlihan, yes.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank
Sarah,
you.
for
Good night.
Happy
facilitating.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween.